Welcome everybody to the HIIT Special Seminar. Um, Today, I'm happy to welcome Shijing He from King's College London, where he is finalizing his PhD thesis. And today we are going to hear a talk about exploring Gen AI-mediated relationship-level Coercion social engineering. So please, the floor is yours. You can share your screen and
Yeah, okay. So can anyone hear my screen? Oh, sorry, no, hear my voice. And I'm going to share the screen. Okay. Can anyone see my screen?
Yeah, we can see
yes.
it.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. My name is Shijing, and I come from King's College London. And yeah, so I like to share the proposal for the postdoc fellowship as well as some introduction of briefly introduction of myself as well. So my topic is exploring generative AI mediated relationship level coercion social engineering, and my prospective PI is Dr. Verena. Yeah, so I'd like to share something about me first. So I want to share my research profile. My research sits at the intersection of usable privacy and security, HCI, and emerging technology harms. So basically, my keyword research area keywords is usable security and the privacy, human-centered privacy and security, social engineering, HCI, and the UX evaluation. So across my works so far, I focus on how privacy and security problems are shaped by power, for example, power imbalance or power dynamics among different relationship, social relationship, or social norms in different contexts, and the real world constraints, especially for at-risk individuals. So this is also my PhD project to understanding the at-risk individual in smart home context. So I want to also share some of my past work, especially around at-risk users and everyday harms. So in Kai 25, I published one paper for the understanding privacy and security challenges facing by migrant domestic workers in Chinese smart homes. And in this year, I conduct another study on PTM participant threat modeling with Chinese young women living alone. And also for USAC 26, I published one paper about social technical threat modeling of AI-driven smart home device by UK, as perceived by UK-based domestic workers. And in last year, Tokai 25, we also published one systematic review on bystander to understanding bystander privacy in smart homes. So a major strand of this my works looks at privacy and security for people whose control is limited in daily environment, especially in digital environment. So this include migrant domestic workers, young women living alone, and bystander in smart home contexts. So across this project, I study how power imbalance shape the risk or privacy risk and security risk, and why many standard protection or we call it privacy and security mitigation do not work well in actual practice. So, so from AI, so why I want to introduce the proposal is, I mean, it's a natural next step for me because it's built directly on my existing studies. So I want to further share some of my existing works. So first is in Kai 26, privacy and human AI romantic relationship, which already examined disclosure, intimate relationship, boundaries, and privacy agency in AI-mediated romantic relationships, which link very closely to the companionship part of my proposal. And then my work on migrant domestic workers, I previously shared, and in other side in SP paper, so on smart home product teams, also helped me to study how protection succeed or forward in real product development or in real organizational settings. And also in Kai 26, I conduct another study from app side privacy issues and real world platform design challenges by using a three stages studies. So first stage is a UI UX analysis, and then we analyze the policy privacy policies, and then in the last step, we conduct a traceability analysis for understanding the privacy issue in smart home apps. So my work has already connected at-risk individual and constrained control, and also AI-mediated intimacy and disclosure, and how protections break down across product workflows. So this project I propose is not departure from my research. This is actually lead directly to my proposed future work. So I want to share then the research proposal of my for the fellowship. So I begin by explaining why I see this is a different kind of security problem, comparing relational coercion model to traditional scam model. So traditional scam model often focus on, for example, one-time phishing arrives, and then they assume that users or victims could detect the scams or harms. And then the solution is could be the users to warn or block the attackers, or sometimes they can report to the system. However, this model assumes that the target, the users, can act immediately and safely under the attack. However, generative AI changes flow, so attack unfold over time. So attacker may first build trust, I will introduce later in the AI companionship, take as an example, and then slowly increase the pressure. And sometimes the fake evidence, for example, generative AI-based deepfake content may be also used exactly when it's mostly like to work. So attacker here, for example, scammers or even some hackers, they may move between coercion and retaliation, and also information collected from different platforms can make the whole attacks feel more believable and sometimes even more powerful. So the old model in here is too narrow, and it help us to think about just the one-time or phishing messages scams as a part of social engineering harms, but it does not fully capture attacks that based on relational or even ongoing works in generative AI period. So my core argument I want to quickly introduce, I argue that the generative AI-mediated social engineering should not be studied alone as a deception, but it should be studied as a relational workflow of coercion. So as aforementioned, so attackers may firstly build trust, and then they learn what the target cares about. For example, victims, family members, or family information, and their work experience or some work details, confidential information, reputation, or even sometimes the emotional needs. So they use such prompts to create some synthetic evidence at the most persuasive moment. So after that, they may also escalate using pressure or shame, sometimes dependency or threat of retaliation to increase the attack. So attacker's power does not come alone from one fake messages, or it comes from the relationship they create, the connection they create, or sometimes the emotional pressure they build, and also the digital trace they collect over time. So, as mentioned, why I focus on human AI companionship. Take this as an example. So, this project focus on this human AI companionship as a higher leverage setting, because I choose this context for several reasons. One from previous studies. So these systems often encourage repeated and intimate disclosure. So people may share very personal information, sometimes very sensitive, emotional, or even very sensitive personal individual details over a long period of time. And secondly, user may not always know clearly about the data handling practice, how and what kind of data is being collected, how long it is kept or stored, and who may have access to the such data. So this kind of trace may later be exposed or reused to make the coercion attack more convincing. And thirdly, the trust and emotional reliance can form quite quickly in these settings, which can make manipulation more effective as well. So I'm not mainly arguing the AI companion platform itself is attacker. So in most of cases, the attacker is external threat actors, as mentioned. So it's like a scammer or even hackers who use the condition created in these systems. So I treat AI companionship mainly as a high-risk environment, while also recognizing that platform design choice can increase or reduce that risk. So because of these features, companionship platforms make the relationship level coercion especially visible. So they can help us to see more clearly how trust, disclosure, memory, and emotional reliance can create vulnerability. And also, they provide a useful setting for developing protections that may later generalize to other AI-mediated communication contexts. So I have summarized the gap in existing protections. So many existing protections assume user can safely do things like block the attacker report, change settings, or even verify suspicious content. But in many real situations, these actions are not safe and even not realistic. So this is why I use the concept of constraint control. So by using this term, I mean the situation here where some of the standard protective actions are not reliable and not even unsafe or even impractical. So this may happen because the person fears retaliation or escalation. So it may happen because account or device are shared, sometimes shared devices or even shared multi-user contacts. It may happen because a person depend on someone else or even face institutional constraints or simply does not have easy access to right controls. So this concept is very important for this project because it shaped the design question. So instead of asking, so why did not user just block or report in previously, in this proposal, I ask questions like, what if the block or reporting mitigation strategies itself is risky? So that is why and where I think current security protections or is still limited. So based on all the research gaps, I summarize four research questions. So first is how do generative AI mediate threat actors enact relationship level coercion across workflow? The second is how do shared and interconnected infrastructure amplify coercion across platforms? And number three, would protection remain feasible when users are under constrained control? And the last question is, how should responsibility be distributed across different stakeholders, users, platforms, and institutions? All these questions from understanding the problem to designing better solution protections and even clarifying who should do what across the four research questions. So the overall design of the project can be organized into three working packages, and each one builds on the previous one. So working package one is about modeling the workflow, and working package two is about grounding the model is in lived constraint, and working package three is about designing and even evaluating the protections or solutions. So the project has a very clear logic. First is define the problem carefully, and then validate it through a lived experience and empirical evidence. And number three, turn the finding into concrete protections that can work in practice, both in practice and in academic research. So I will introduce each work packages in next slides. So for the WP1, I focused on building the threat models and requirement travel map. So the first part is to adapt the kill chain style threat modeling to this relationship context. So based on one of my previous works, about the kill chain style threat modeling. So I want to model that the stage from the preparation to retaliation at each stage ask what does the attack need and what do they do and what does the target experience and what kind of features of the platform increase their leverage. So the second part is about organizational implementation. So even if team members or even a product team, AI product team wants to build a protection, so those protections may weaken as they move across rules. So this is some evidence I found in my previous paper in IEEE SP 26. So a safety ideas may start in a one piece or one place. But then become vague or untestable when it passes through different rules like product, UX, engineering, privacy, or trust, even safety rules. So in these work packages, I will use such methods like interview stakeholders across trust and safety or privacy and security, compliance workers, or even other support rules like fraud, service, or other different kind of rules. So this goal is not only to understanding attacks, but also to understand how protections succeed or even fail inside of our organizations. So the output will include a threat model, a coaching threat model, and a companionship specific threat types, and a requirement travel map and some of the initial responsibility allocation draft. Next, based on WP1, I moved to MP2, WP2, sorry. WP2 brings the lived experience side. So here I want to understand how these issues look from the perspective of people whose control is constrained, especially in lived experience. So I will specifically introduce three groups. So the first is old adults or users who whose digital lives are mediated by others or sometimes partly managed by others. So the second group is people in dependency or power imbalance the relationship. And third one is the high disclosure users of the romantic of companion chatbots. So I plan to use some of the methodology like interviews or even possibly diary studies, incident walkthroughs, scenario tasks, and even policy analysis based on some of the methods I used in previous publications. So the reason for combining this method is that not everyone will have experience of fully develop the case, but they may have still be able to reflect on situation and decision points. So the key output here is constraint control map. So this will show where current defense break down and what action people avoid and what kind of risk they perceive and what future protections must support or avoid. So this working package is important as a bridge connect to working package one and working package three because it keeps the project grounded in real constraint rather than ideal assumptions. So based on the two previous working package, I will move to working package three. So designing interventions and evaluation. So working package three turned the finding into actual design and evaluation work. So the key principle here is that the intervention must work even when the user cannot safely comfort attackers or take visible action, as I mentioned in previous slides. So here I focus on three types of interventions. The first is escalational safe verification and documentation. And this means helping users to perceive evidence and assess risks without making the situation worse. And second is a low agency resources pass. So this includes quite a way to seeking help or assistant reporting or even recovery options that work in a shared account or other constrained contexts. So the third one is companionship specific safeguards. So there are focus. So this focus on giving user a better visibility and control over retention, deletion, storage, and coercive potential of persistent logs. So more importantly, I also want to translate all these interventions into platform-facing artifacts, such as taxable requirement template or relational safety champion model. So based on my developing and design experience, so these all outputs are not only just ideas for papers. So my expectation is that they can also be used in real product teams. So I expected to contribution can be divided into two parts, scholarly and practically. So I expected three main contribution on scholarly side. So the concept of framing of said generative AI social engineering as a relationship level coercion. And secondly, is in empirical grounding model. And thirdly is a cross-platform account of how traces and the infrastructure amplify leverage. For practical level, I expect to produce escalation-safe intervention patterns, implementable organizational artifacts, and clearly responsibility allocation across different stakeholders. I also want to emphasize here is that the project is both analytic and constructive. So it's not only about identifying a new problem, it should be creating a protection that more usable and even realistic and for organizational actionable. And thank you for listening. That's my me and also my proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the audience? Yeah, Rafael.
Sorry, I just put the like applause. So thanks for the presentation.
Thank you.
Valtteri.
Thanks a lot for the presentation. That's a really interesting area. So I was a little bit not quite sure. So whether you assume that both the victims and the attackers utilize AI or generative AI.
Yeah, so for user side, it's like I take the AI companionship example. So many companionship platforms like Replica, for example, people can using this platform like creating or using other people created character to interact. So it can be lover or partners or many romantic relationship. So during this stage, people can, disclosure by time, and then they can provide more depending on the relationship. So they can provide in more sensitive information during this stage. And by this, the platform sometimes they are not attacker, but sometimes attacker can hack the platforms to gather the information from users. So they can use such trace to attack users by, as mentioned, the coercion level attacks. So attackers could be scammers, but they use more advanced way in rather than just a one-time scammer or one-time phishing stuff.
Yeah, maybe a follow-up. So because the kind of those victim groups that you described, so like older adults, etc. So is
Yeah.
it likely that those kind of people would use AI companion?
Yes, yes. Yeah, so this is one ongoing study I'm currently working on. So I'm studying I'm actually doing this project now. So I want to know many older people, as you mentioned, older people who using AI companionship. I mean, according to one data published in this year in May or in March, sorry, in March from a US sort of US institution, I forgot, but they mentioned that more than 39 American elderly people who use the AI companionship for relationship, I mean for romantic relationship or friendship or whatever kind of different kind of relationship. So it could be huge amount of people who has or have used such app or AIs to build relationship with the AI. So this is not a small number. So about 40% of American older people. So it could be a very huge number. And for older people, they have very, as mentioned in a slide, so they may have very limited awareness, or sometimes they have very limited controls on such privacy settings. If they met some scams or fraud, sometimes it's very difficult for them to identify or verify the suspicious content. And even sometimes during the relationship, they will disclosure more information by lower awareness. So during this stage, attackers could use such content, for example, their family members' information or even the sensitive information from themselves to attack the elder people. So it could be a very serious social engineering here. So that's why I want to specifically focus on at-risk individual like elderly people.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Other questions? Just raise your hand if you. Valtteri, do you have another question?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have many questions, but
Yeah.
I will give a floor to Verena soon. But my question is it still related to the same thing and this like a trial users or these groups that you will perceive. So do you envision that they would be Finnish people or how do you see the Finland as a place to study these issues? What are the
Yes.
pros and cons?
Yes, thank you for your question. This is a very good question. So I want to share some of my previous works in Kai 26. We actually did a AI companionship on general people, not specifically for elder people. So in this study, because all our authors based on in European countries, and then most of the participants we found from not most, but even half of the participants from EU countries. So I can see I even remember one older people from I forgot in Netherlands. I remember he was from Netherlands. Yeah. So I think in the Reddit or Discord community he mentioned, there are many people like him, not elderly people, but his age was 56 or 57, I forgot. But yeah, but he mentioned that there are a lot of older people here in the EU countries. They have very large user group who use such AI companionship, but they are not they are not active users in the group, but sometimes they have their own chat groups or some of their own subreddit to communicate, or even sometimes they have their own local communities, for example. So I think it could be an important part to doing some empirical study locally. I think there might be some interesting points here in Finland as well, because he mentioned that in whole EU countries, there are a lot of people who have such experience. So it might be important for us to gather some insights here from Finland.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Verena.
Yeah, so thanks for the talk. You mentioned many different groups that might be impacted by your work. So who are the main stakeholders you think that could benefit from your project as you're proposing it?
Yes. So basically, my previous study on my PhD related on at-risk individuals. So as mentioned, migrant domestic workers or young women living alone. But here in the AI companionship using users or even elderly people, I think it could be at-risk individual as well. But I'm not specifically focused on one or two groups, because sometimes at-risk individual they could be, even sometimes they may not identify themselves as at risks. So that's why we can more generally conduct a user study for more general user groups, but then identify the at-risk point they have. So I would say from user side, everyone could be attacker's target, right? So in this stage, I won't specifically define the at risk here, but I will prioritize three groups as mentioned in the slides first. So these groups could be some of the case study or scenarios that I start with, and then probably create more general solution as a WP3 for the more broader interventions for a benefit to everyone who has or have such scammer or security risks. Yes. And for, oh, sorry, I haven't answered
Go
that.
ahead.
Yeah, for another side, it could be attackers. I mean, I identify such attackers could be some criminals or hackers. They have such, scamming behavior. But I'm not, this study is not benefit for them. But I mean, it's important for us to identify such advanced scam method rather than one-time phishing scams. So in this study, it could be more novel. A novel part it should be contribute to the identifying of the threat modeling in generative AI mediated, especially in coercion level attacks. So this is for the attackers. We can identify them and try to nudge users to avoid or mitigate such concerns to avoid attackers' criminal behaviors.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So we are kind of out of time. So let's
sorry.
thank the speaker, and we will conclude the session. So thank you very much for the interesting talk.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.